Hello everyone, I am Estate Surveyor and Valuer Temitayo Olariwaju Nuga, the Head of Practice of Nuga and Partners Chartered Estate Surveyors and Valuers. On this channel, you shall be getting multiple useful insights on real estate matters. Follow us for updates. Thank you. Hello everyone, my name is Estate Surveyor and Valuer Temitayo Olariwaju Nuga. Today, I will be talking on the differences between cost, price, and value. Cost, price, and value. Let's start with cost. Cost actually is the aggregate of all the input that is involved to create an end result. It spans through every sphere of life beyond building projects. So if we are talking about properties now, it involves the sum of all the materials that were involved in the construction of a built project. That's a building. So that is cost in a very simplified way, and it does not necessarily equate value. It does not necessarily or always equate value. So some people do a great mistake by interchanging them for the other, like cost is equals to value. Sometimes we encounter some clients when they intend to dispose a property, and upon valuation, the cost is what is in their head, that the value has to exceed the cost at all times. But in reality, it's not so. It depends on the other factors that are surrounding that neighborhood or that are inherent in that particular property that determine the value, not necessarily the cost. Sometimes the value might be less than the cost incurred in constructing a building, and some other times it could be far higher, and sometimes it could just be a little difference between them. So they are not the same. Cost is a summation of everything that has been imputed to realize an end result, or to realize a project, to realize something. So it's not necessarily the same. Now let me give you a typical example. Let's say in a bush where the soil type is very, very poor, nobody is living there, or maybe one or two buildings are just within that area. Now, due to the soil type, the type of foundation that will be required to build a 2-floor building is going to be very, very expensive. It will incur more costs than the cost of foundation in another place that has a more solid ground. Now, the one in the bush has a poor soil condition. The one in this in a well saturated area where there are more people living around and more economic activities has a solid ground. And now the bush, because of the soil type, you are compelled to spend more money on the foundation. I'm just giving an example. Just note, 100 million naira was spent on building a 2-floor building in that bush. Now, the cost was high because of the type of foundation. Now, the same type of building, you erect it in a more settled area, in a more economically vibrant area, and we realized it at say 50 million. Now, you spent more money in the bush, 100 million. In the city, you spent 50 million. Upon valuation, it was realized that the one in the city or in the vibrant area was valued for, say, 80 million naira. 80 million naira. The one in the bush was valued for 50 million naira. Now, as a property owner, you look at it from the perspective that, no, I spent more money in this one, that shouldn't be the value. You are wrong. So it's not supposed to be, it's not in that way. It doesn't work like that. So clients need to be educated, or investors, stakeholders in the industry need to be educated on the differences between these things, between these factors. Cost is not necessarily value. Things that influence value is far beyond the cost incurred. It's intrinsic, it is also extrinsic in nature. So that is cost in a nutshell. Shortly, let's go for a break. We'll be back soon. You're welcome back. Now let's talk about price. Price is simply the amount that a seller has decided to dispose his assets, or a buyer has chosen to purchase the assets, or we can simply say the amount that both parties have agreed to transact on that asset. That's price. Now, let's now go further to the last one, which is value. Value, which I consider as the most important of the two others, is the most important and is the driver of the two other factors. Value simply means the amount, the monetary amount of the utility that will be derived from using or consuming an asset. That is value. It is value that determines the price, and it is also value for a discerning investor that determines the cost. Now, let's look at it from the two perspectives of two parties. An investor who decides to embark on a project, first he would consider the value that he intends to offer to his customers or clients, and eventually the value he is going to derive, the value that he's going to get, that's his profit, what he's going to get from embarking on that project eventually. As a result, value drives the cost, and value also influences and drives the price on both ways. So value, as I see it and as it is king. Value is king. Just like it is commonly said, they say cash is king, but I say value is king. If you have cash in the bank and it's not generating anything except the interest rate that is being eroded by high inflation rates in Nigeria as it is, or even in other countries, inflation, they have a negative effect on cash. So if you look at it from that way, I don't say cash is king, I will say value is king, because it is value that drives demand. It is value that drives price. It is value that drives cost. It drives every other thing. So that is the difference between the three, that is cost, price, and value. Thank you for listening. See you another time.